So in this presentation, co-authored with my colleague Rick Campbell, we're going to talk a bit, well, I'm going to talk on behalf of him, a bit of context about the University of Sheffield, including some context about our research data management service and the principles which guide their work, and also a little bit about the digital preservation service, what we do in terms of web archiving for the university so far. Then going to focus on the issue of research data published to the web, asking, can it be fair? Don't worry, I'll explain what fair is as well. And what we have done to try and make it a bit fairer with the help of web archiving in some instances. And then to what else can we achieve, both in terms of following fair principles with our research data and also other data by the university that's published on the web. So the university vision is that we will deliver life-enhancing research, innovation and education that not only transforms the lives of our graduates, but shapes the world that we live in. Lofty ambitions. And while there is probably familiarity in this room with what research data management is, it's the organization, storage and preservation of data created during a research project. The next few slides are going to focus a little bit more about the University of Sheffield's research data management service and what principles guide that work. With a nice little picture as well. So the Research Data Management Service, I might start saying RDM because it's getting a bit of a tongue twister to keep saying that, which my co-author sits within, offers, amongst other things, guidance and support to researchers, training sessions and online resources, advice and feedback on their data management plans. Data management plans are mandatory for PhD students. It's not necessarily mandatory for all researchers. That's important to note. And practical support and guidance on preserving and sharing data. And they also manage the university's open data repository, which is called ORDER. So the Research Data Management Service supports open research practices at the university. So the statement on open research reads that the University of Sheffield recognises that open research is a vital I turned and I lost my place. Is a vital part of our commitment to enabling and promoting research excellence across our community. So the aims are as follows on this. So striving to make open access, so openly available scholarly outputs, where possible, open data, so the data underlying publications to be made openly available, licensing that where possible supports sharing and research and reuse, and transparency in our work and reproducibility of outputs. And so to fair. What is fair? So fair principles describe how research outputs should be organised so they can be more easily accessed, understood, exchanged and reused. And as the acronym you see on the slide says, it stands for findable, accessible, interoperable and reusable. So the university statement on open research states that data underlying publications is to be made openly available and fair where legally and ethically possible. So I hope I've set a bit of context that we're very much all about the open and all about the fair. And I'm going to talk now about Digital Preservation Service, which aims to help to try and keep things open and fair for as long as necessary. So again, I'm not even going to quote this because I hope everyone knows what digital preservation is in the audience, but I'm going to talk about what I get up to in the Digital Preservation Service at Sheffield. So the aims are to embed good practice in digital preservation throughout the organisation to enable new opportunities while safeguarding institutional and cultural memory. The scope is quite broad for what we cover, including the university archives and special collections archives, our records management content that can't sit in situ for the period that it's legally required to be held for, research output, so that includes our e-theses, our research publications, the preprints, and our research data outputs that are submitted into order. And again, to explain, to get your PhD, you need to submit your theses, but you should also actually then be linking through to order for the research data outputs. And it gives you a little DOI, so we encourage people to submit their research data outputs. In terms of format-specific work, the Digital Preservation Service is already capturing our main websites, this via quarterly crawls that we undertake, capturing sites that form parts of archive collection deposits, and also capturing research data that's published in specific sites. I'll speak more to this in a later slide. We also advocate for good practice in the university, including, and I purposely put this in quotation marks, how to make archive-friendly websites, because I thought someone might point out that's really tricky. And it is. So to the crux of the presentation, how can research data published to the web be fair? How can we ensure it's findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable? And for how long? Is it fair for as long as we need it to be fair for? And could perhaps web archiving make it a bit fairer? So why might it not be fair? So some reasons why hosting research data on the web might not be fair are as follows. At some point, someone doesn't pay the hosting service, whether they decide to or not. The data has been redirected, reorganized, and connectors to the data behind the scenes have been broken. And I want to talk about specific examples that we uncovered when we started investigating what we had in our repository. So we have examples where the web link is the only thing deposited. So they haven't provided any other data, it's just a URL deposit. In some cases, the website is actually the only research output in its entirety. So by doing this means that we can't provide that usual assurances that we have in terms of preserving that deposit and retain access to it over time. Other examples we have are where someone's deposited a link that is actually just a representation of the data. It's not actually the data. So it's a data repository, but we've just got a representation. So it's linking to a site that's pulling data from a database, but we've got no access to the data that was actually created. With those cases, it's a loss of accessibility over time because we have no assurances about whoever's hosting that database, how long it will remain there. And then the general ones, so links to pages, to sites, or storage locations that are not public or no longer accessible. So examples we have are links to university storage. We're a Google organization, I know, sorry, not my choice. That comes with its own challenges. So people just go, oh, I'll just make my little private bit of the Google storage, I'll make that widely accessible. That's fine. I go to my new academic role somewhere else, and my IT colleagues, after a certain period of time, will delete that, which is problematic. Also very similar with Google Sites. If they've attached that to their, again, we're a Google organization, so we encourage Google Sites. If they're built and maintained by individual staff members, when the staff leave, there is a risk that it could be deleted there. And we also have broken links to other people's repositories, which is curious why you would deposit a link to another repository, but it happens. Bitbucket and GitHub are examples that I saw. And then finally, there's actually broken links in the associated metadata. So it's not actually we've got the data, but some of the context is missing because they've just gone, well, the funding was this, the report was here, and this and that. And actually, that in some cases, that means that context is completely lost, putting into question the ability to ensure the integrity and the data for reuse. So the R in fair is then also put into question. So, can web archiving offer a solution to some of these things? Could it make things a bit fairer? Yeah, it could help capture work how it was intended to be viewed, or even be complementary to the data. This was how it was disseminated. It can meet funder requirements regarding making outputs accessible for a period after the research was completed. It could help reduce the reference rot. And then, websites are inherently fragile medium, and so having assurances that the data is captured appropriately, I missed the word could, ensure that it would remain accessible. I'm not brilliant. I can't guarantee everything will always be made accessible. But if it's all right to say to this audience, so web capture in this instance is not going to fix every one of those examples that we had. But it does offer a solution, along with depositing maybe the raw data as well, that could make research published to the web fairer. So what have we done? What steps have we taken to ensure long-term fairness of our research data moving forward? So the journey so far is organised a joint digital preservation and research data management workshop where we had lots of fun. There were cake, there were biscuits, and we discussed the issues and potential solutions, which has resulted in a few outputs, including some co-authored guidance. So web archiving for research data management, and that's used for staff to support researchers. So it's not me talking to the researchers, it's the research data management team talking to researchers, which I prefer. Advice for depositors. So we've got new guidance stating that if they state in their data management plan, they intend to publish their data to the web, we go, hi, and start maybe having a discussion about what that looks like. And also changes to the submission criteria for the repository. So we're looking at potentially removing the option for only depositing a external link. I'm not quite sure if we'll go full hog and just tell people they can't just deposit links, but we'll see. We've done testing of crawler tools. Other tools are available, but we tested those two that are up there. And support, so how-to guidance in terms of how to make those archive-friendly sites, how to submit it to the Internet Archive, and how to do it as easy as possible, and also the UK Web Archive when available. And we also provided some guidance on how to create your own walk, how to create your own crawl, so you could deposit that alongside there. Also with advice saying, and then put in your README how one opens a walk as well. And slipping off this list, because we did a lot, as I mentioned earlier, I have actually undertaken some crawls for researchers to then deposit alongside their outputs. We don't actively advertise that because I have other things that I have to do as well. So we're trying, that's what my role is, to try and upskill other people to do the work for me. Okay, so what else could we achieve by making web archiving fair? So what can we achieve by appropriately capturing data that's published to the web? There we go. Okay, so we could meet objectives of the university, including realising that vision for university, for the research. We could meet our commitments in terms of what we've stated in our open research statements and the principles of our digital preservation policy, which aims to ensure that we safeguard university assets for as long as necessary. We could meet research funder requirements. So not only do many funders recommend research data is made open where possible, but they may stipulate a retention period of how long it should remain open, and that is beyond the average lifespan of a web page. Demonstrate research excellence. So in turn, provide evidence to support the UK Research Excellence Framework, REF, which among other things informs the allocation of research funding by the government. So it's good to have good REF submissions. And similar evidence impact. And this is also evidence as something called a knowledge exchange framework, which measures and informs funding based on evidence of our collaboration we undertake with external partners, and that can be businesses, community groups, and charities. And a lot of that external collaboration sits on the web. I leave it here, continue our obligations as DOI minters, and I won't say anything else on that one. So the journey continues. There is always more work to be done. So the RDM and digital preservation team will continue to work on making things fairer where possible, working with researchers. Oh, I'm starting to flash down there, sorry. Working with researchers and their data to ensure it's captured in the best way possible, be that web archiving or alternatives. And for data beyond the repository, there's plenty of opportunities for more collaboration across the university, signposting guidance and good practice that we've developed with the research data team, colleagues, for use elsewhere in the university, and sharing lessons that we've learnt along the way. So there. Thank you.